They said the dog was a distraction. They said the child was just scared. They said everything was under control, so they forced the dog to leave. And when the silence finally broke, it was already too late for the child. Before this story continues, if you believe that ignoring a warning can be just as dangerous as causing harm, subscribe to Silent Hero Stories, because this is not a story about violence. It's a story about silence and what it costs. The school playground had never felt so quiet. It wasn't empty. Children were there, teachers too. Parents waiting near the gate, checking phones, talking about schedules and dinners. But beneath the ordinary sounds, shoes on concrete, a distant whistle, a laugh cut short, something was wrong. Officer Michael Turner felt it the moment he stepped inside. He had learned to trust that feeling years ago, back when he still believed danger always announced itself loudly. Now he knew better. Danger often arrived disguised as routine. At his side walked Shadow. Shadow was a Belgian Malinois, lean and dark-coated, his movements controlled and precise. Not a young dog, but not old either. Old enough to know when to ignore noise, young enough to act without hesitation. Shadow wasn't assigned to the school because of a threat. He was there because of a pattern. In the past 3 months, there had been incidents, small ones. A child collapsing during recess, another fainting during class, a third complaining of dizziness that teachers blamed on heat or nerves. Nothing alarming enough to escalate, but patterns never screamed. They whispered, and Shadow listened. The principal greeted Turner at the gate, her smile polite and tight. "Thank you for coming, officer," she said. "I'm sure this won't take long." Turner nodded. Routine check. Shadow stood calmly at his side, ears alert, eyes scanning. They walked the perimeter first. Classrooms, hallways, storage rooms. Everything appeared normal, too normal. Children stared at Shadow as they passed. Some smiled, some waved. One small boy didn't. He sat alone on a bench near the far wall, knees pulled to his chest, arms wrapped tightly around himself. His face was pale, his breathing shallow. Shadow slowed. Turner felt the leash tighten slightly. The dog's head lifted. His posture changed, subtle but unmistakable. His attention fixed on the child. Turner followed his gaze. The boy looked up then, eyes glassy, unfocused. When he tried to stand, his legs buckled, and he sank back onto the bench. A teacher nearby noticed and rushed over. "He's fine," she said quickly, before Turner could speak. "Just anxious. He does this sometimes." Shadow didn't move. Turner knelt slightly, lowering himself to the boy's level. "What's your name?" "Lucas," the boy whispered. "You feeling okay, Lucas?" Lucas shook his head slowly. Before Turner could ask more, the principal stepped in. "Officer," she said, her tone polite but firm. "We try not to alarm the children. The dog is making some of them nervous." Shadow's ears flicked. Turner straightened. "My partner noticed something." "It's probably nothing," she replied. "We've had a stressful week, tests, parents, you know how it is." Turner did know. He also knew how often nothing became something only after it was too late. Shadow stepped closer to the bench. The principal frowned. "Officer, please, the dog is upsetting him." Lucas's breathing grew faster. His hands trembled slightly as he pressed them against his stomach. Shadow sat, right in front of him, blocking. Turner felt a chill creep up his spine. "What's wrong, buddy?" he asked again. Lucas opened his mouth to answer. No sound came out. Then his body jerked forward violently. Teachers screamed. Children scattered. Someone yelled for help. Shadow moved instantly, not toward Lucas, but toward the space around him, circling once, sniffing rapidly, alert, agitated in a way Turner had never seen before. "Get that dog away," someone shouted. Turner knelt beside Lucas, supporting his head, as another teacher called emergency services. Lucas's eyes rolled back slightly. His skin felt clammy. Shadow whined softly, a low, urgent sound. "He's making it worse," the principal cried. "Remove the dog." Turner hesitated. Shadow had been trained to detect explosives, drugs, missing persons, but this was different. Shadow wasn't reacting to the boy. He was reacting to the air, to something invisible. "Officer," the principal insisted. "Please." Turner made a decision he would replay for the rest of his life. "Shadow," he said firmly. "Outside." The dog froze. Turner repeated the command. Shadow looked at him, not confused, not defiant, but warning. Then, reluctantly, he turned and walked away. The moment Shadow crossed the gate, Lucas convulsed again. Sirens wailed in the distance. By the time paramedics arrived, Lucas was unconscious. They rushed him out on a stretcher, oxygen mask strapped tight, teachers crying, parents watching in horror. Shadow sat outside the fence, eyes locked on the scene, body tense. He never barked, he never moved. He simply watched as the child was taken away. The school returned to normal within days. Classes resumed. Recess continued. Meetings were held. Lucas was said to be recovering, but Shadow didn't relax. He paced restlessly at the station. He refused food once, then twice. Turner tried to convince himself it was coincidence. Bad luck. A medical episode no one could have predicted. But Shadow knew better. 2 weeks later, Lucas died. The official cause was respiratory failure following an undiagnosed gas leak in a maintenance storage area adjacent to the playground. A leak Shadow had smelled. A leak no one had listened to. The report would later say, "Earlier intervention may have altered the outcome." Turner read that sentence again and again. Earlier intervention. Shadow lay at his feet, silent, and the silence felt heavier than any scream ever could. Investigação oficial. Culpa esmagadora do policial. Tentativa de encobrir o erro. Shadow sendo afastado. Pais começando a fazer perguntas. Continuo imediatamente. Continue. Perfeito. Continuo na mesma história, mesmo tom, sem acelerar, sem resumir, mantendo o ritmo profissional de narrativa longa. Abaixo está: The news came quietly. No sirens, no câmeras, no urgent calls demanding explanations. Just a single sentence buried in a short email sent to the school staff and city offices late on a Tuesday evening. We regret to inform you that Lucas Moreira passed away this afternoon due to complications following his hospitalization. Officer Michael Turner read the message 3 times before the words settled into meaning. He stared at the screen long after it dimmed, his mind refusing to accept what his eyes already knew. Passed away. The phrase felt distant, clinical, as if it belonged to someone else's life, someone else's mistake. Shadow lay near the door, his head resting on his paws, eyes half open. When Turner exhaled sharply, the dog lifted his head, alert immediately, searching Turner's face for cues that never came. Turner closed the laptop slowly. 2 weeks. That was all the time between the day Shadow had tried to warn them and the day the warning became irreversible. 2 weeks of silence. At the station the next morning, the atmosphere was subdued in a way Turner had never experienced before. Not tense, not loud, just heavy. Officers spoke in hushed tones. Conversation stopped when Turner passed, not out of judgment but discomfort. Everyone knew. No one wanted to say it out loud. The captain called Turner into his office before roll call. He didn't offer a seat. "I'm sorry," the captain said simply. Turner nodded. His throat felt tight, dry. "Sir, the dog—" "I know," the captain interrupted gently. "This isn't about blame. Not yet." Turner flinched at the words. "Not yet. There's going to be an investigation," the captain continued. "Health department, city oversight. They'll want timelines, decisions, communications." Turner stared at the wall behind him. "Shadow is being temporarily removed from field duty," the captain added. The words landed harder than Turner expected. "Removed?" Turner asked. "Why?" The captain hesitated. "Until we know more. The school is claiming the dog caused panic, that his presence delayed medical response." Turner's jaw tightened. "That's not true." "I know," the captain said again. "But it's being said." Shadow was reassigned to kennel duty that afternoon. He walked beside Turner calmly, obedient as always, tail low but steady. When the gate closed behind him, Shadow sat and looked up, waiting for the next instruction. None came. Turner lingered, one hand resting on the metal bars. "I should have trusted you," he whispered. Shadow blinked slowly, as if listening. Outside the station, the story began to shift. At first, headlines focused on tragedy. Elementary school student dies after sudden medical episode. Community mourns loss of 9-year-old boy. Lucas's photo appeared everywhere. School portraits, birthday pictures, smiling images that made the loss feel sharper. Then questions started. Parents began talking, quietly at first, then louder. Some mentioned strange smells near the playground weeks earlier. Others recalled maintenance complaints that were logged but never followed up on. A janitor admitted he'd reported a faulty valve months ago. The word gas entered the conversation cautiously. The school district responded with statements full of sympathy and no responsibility. Turner watched it all unfold from a distance, his name absent but his presence implied. Every mention of the K9 unit made his stomach twist. Shadow stopped eating again. Turner noticed the second night after the announcement. The bowl remained full. Shadow sniffed once, then turned away. The vet said stress. Turner said nothing. The investigation formally began on Friday. Turner sat across from two officials who asked careful questions with sharp edges. Why was the dog brought to the school that day? Who authorized his presence? Why was he removed from the scene? Turner answered honestly. Because of a pattern. Because my partner noticed something wrong. Because I was told to. The officials nodded, wrote notes, exchanged glances. They never asked why Turner listened to the principal instead of the dog. They already knew the answer. Pressure. At the school, teachers were interviewed next. Some said they remembered the smell. Others said they didn't want to scare the kids. One admitted she'd felt dizzy that morning but ignored it. The principal insisted she'd acted responsibly. We trusted the professionals, she said. Turner watched the interview later on a recorded feed. She never looked at the camera when she said it. Shadow remained in the kennel. Days passed, then weeks. Turner visited every evening. Sometimes Shadow would stand eagerly. Other times he wouldn't move at all, eyes fixed on Turner with a quiet intensity that made his chest ache. You tried to tell us, Turner said one night, sitting on the concrete floor outside the kennel, and I made you leave. Shadow stood slowly and pressed his head against the gate. Turner closed his eyes. The investigation's findings leaked before they were officially released. The gas leak had been active for months, small enough to evade alarms, strong enough to cause dizziness, confusion, respiratory distress. Children were especially vulnerable. Lucas had spent more time near the source than anyone realized. Shadow had smelled it immediately. Experts confirmed it. Dogs could detect concentrations humans couldn't. The report included a sentence Turner couldn't escape. Canine presence may have identified the hazard earlier if allowed to remain. May have, as if it were hypothetical. Public reaction shifted again. Now there was anger, not at Turner, at the school, at the district, at the quiet decisions that prioritized calm over caution. Parents demanded resignations, meetings turned hostile, lawyers circled, and still, Shadow stayed silent in his kennel. One evening, Turner found him lying on his side, breathing shallow, eyes dull. The vet was called. In diagnosis, severe stress response. He feels he failed, the vet said gently, even though he didn't. Turner nodded, his vision blurring. I failed him, Turner replied. Lucas's mother reached out a week later. Her message was short. Can I see the dog? They met at the station after hours. She looked smaller than Turner remembered, like grief had physically compressed her. Shadow sat quietly as she approached. She knelt slowly, hands trembling. He tried, she whispered. Didn't he? Turner nodded. She pressed her forehead against Shadow's. I wish we had listened. Shadow licked her hand gently. For the first time since Lucas died, Turner cried openly. Not loud, just enough to finally breathe. Micro Gancho, Film de Parte 2. The report would soon be public, and with it the question no one wanted to answer. Who was responsible for the silence? The report was released on a Monday morning, not announced, not explained, simply uploaded to a government website, buried under technical language and legal disclaimers that disguised its weight. By noon, it was everywhere. Parents forwarded screenshots. Journalists highlighted key paragraphs. Social media reduced complex failures into sharp accusations that spread faster than understanding ever could. Officer Michael Turner read the report alone in his apartment, Shadow lying quietly beside the couch. He read it once, then again, then a third time, slower, as if changing the pace might soften the truth. It didn't. The findings were clear. The gas leak had been present for months. Maintenance requests had been logged and closed without inspection. The playground sat directly above a poorly ventilated storage area. On warmer days, gas concentration increased. The report confirmed what Turner already knew in his bones. Shadow had detected the leak the moment he entered the school grounds. There it was, in black and white. K9 reaction consistent with detection of hazardous airborne substance. Turner's hands shook as he scrolled, but the sentence that followed felt colder. Decision to remove K9 from premises contributed to delayed identification of hazard. Contributed, not caused. A word chosen carefully enough to spread responsibility thin. Turner exhaled slowly. Shadow lifted his head, ears twitching as if sensing Turner's tension. He rested his chin on Turner's knee, grounding him in the present. Within hours, the school district issued a statement. They expressed sorrow. They acknowledged loss, they promised review, they did not accept responsibility. Instead, they emphasized procedural confusion and miscommunication at multiple levels. By the end of the day, another narrative began to form, one that made Turner's stomach drop. Anonymous sources suggested the officer on scene had over-relied on the K9 and failed to assert authority when the situation escalated. The implication was subtle, but clear. Turner was called into internal affairs on Wednesday. This time, the room felt different, colder. The investigator slid a folder across the table. "Walk us through your decision-making process," she said. Turner did. Again, every word, every moment, every hesitation. "And when the principal asked you to remove the dog," the investigator pressed, "why did you comply?" Turner hesitated. "Because she was responsible for the children," he said carefully. "And I didn't want to escalate panic." The investigator nodded, writing something down. "Do you believe your compliance contributed to the outcome?" The question lingered in the air, heavy and sharp. Turner answered honestly, "Yes." The room went quiet. That single word would follow him for months. Shadow was officially removed from active service the following week. "Not as punishment," the letter said, "as a precaution." Turner read the letter twice, then folded it carefully and placed it on the table. Shadow watched him, tail still, eyes steady. "You're not in trouble," Turner said quietly. "They just don't know what to do with you." Shadow stood and pressed his body against Turner's leg. Outside, protests began. Parents gathered in front of the school district offices, holding photos of Lucas. Candles burned on sidewalks. Signs appeared. "Silence is negligence. We warned you, listen next time." Lucas's mother spoke publicly for the first time. Her voice trembled, but it didn't break. "My son didn't die because of an accident," she said. "He died because warnings were ignored." She didn't name names. She didn't have to. The district responded defensively. Lawyers stepped in. Meetings went behind closed doors, and slowly, quietly, blame began to slide away from systems and toward individuals. Turner's name appeared in an internal memo leaked to the press. Not accused, referenced, enough to make people ask questions. Neighbors looked at him differently. Some avoided eye contact, others offered awkward sympathy that felt heavier than silence. Turner stopped watching the news. He spent more time at home with Shadow, walking him at odd hours, avoiding crowds. Shadow seemed calmer away from the station, but something fundamental had shifted. He no longer waited for commands. He watched. Always watching. One afternoon, Turner received a call from an engineer involved in the investigation. "I shouldn't be calling you," the man said quietly, "but there's something you should know." Turner listened. "There was a secondary report," the engineer continued. "An internal one. It details prior complaints that were never forwarded. Maintenance logs altered after the incident." Turner's chest tightened. "Altered how?" "Dates changed. Notes removed. Someone didn't want a clear trail." "Who?" The engineer paused. "I don't know, but it wasn't you." That night, Turner sat at his kitchen table staring at the phone. Shadow lay at his feet. If the truth came out fully, it would clear Turner. But it would destroy careers, maybe institutions. And institutions didn't fall quietly. Lucas's mother called again 2 days later. "They asked me to stop talking," she said. "Said it would help the investigation." Turner closed his eyes. "And?" he asked. "I told them no." The next morning, Turner received official notice. He was being placed on administrative leave pending further review. Shadow was to remain off duty indefinitely. The silence had spread, and it was swallowing everything. Turner stood in his living room, letter in hand, Shadow watching him closely. "I don't know what comes next," Turner said softly. Shadow stepped closer, resting his head against Turner's leg. For the first time, Turner realized something painful. Shadow hadn't just smelled danger. He had sensed what humans always missed. That silence wasn't absence. It was a decision. The meeting was scheduled for Thursday afternoon. No agenda, no witnesses, no recordings. Officer Michael Turner knew what that meant. He arrived early, Shadow walking beside him for the last time in uniform. The dog moved calmly as always, but there was a hesitation in his step. Not fear, not confusion, something closer to understanding. The room was smaller than expected. A single table, 4 chairs, 2 occupied. The city's legal counsel didn't smile. "We appreciate your cooperation," she began. "This won't take long." Turner remained standing. "We are prepared to conclude the review," she continued. "But before we do, we need your agreement." Turner felt his pulse slow, sharpen. "Agreement to what?" he asked. The counsel slid a document across the table. "A non-disclosure clause." a separation recommendation, a formal acknowledgement of procedural error, all written in language designed to sound neutral. This protects everyone, she said. Turner scanned the page. It would end the investigation, close the case, ensure no further public statements. Shadow would be quietly retired. The school district would avoid litigation. The city would move on, and Lucas would remain a tragedy without accountability. If I sign this, Turner said slowly, what happens to the internal report? It remains internal, she replied, where it belongs. Turner looked up. And the altered logs? The council's eyes flickered. Those are unsubstantiated concerns. Turner pushed the paper back. I won't sign. The silence that followed was sharp. You're risking your career, the council said. Turner nodded. I know. She leaned forward. You're risking more than that. Turner stood. So did Lucas. He turned and left. That night, Shadow was officially transferred, not to retirement, to holding. Turner was not allowed to accompany him. He watched from behind the gate as another handler led Shadow away, the leash taut, unfamiliar hands gripping it too tightly. Shadow looked back once, just once. Turner pressed his hand against the metal fence. I'm sorry, he whispered. Shadow didn't resist, but he didn't stop watching Turner until the door closed. Turner felt something fracture inside his chest. The engineer called again that night. They're shredding files, he said. Digitally, slowly, quietly. Turner didn't hesitate. I need copies. I can't send them, the engineer replied, but I can show you where they are. The decision didn't feel heroic. It felt necessary. Turner broke protocol. He accessed systems he no longer had permission to touch, pulled backups that hadn't yet been wiped. Screenshotted logs, timestamps, metadata that told a story no statement ever could. He worked until dawn. Shadow didn't sleep. The next morning, Turner emailed the files. Not to the city, not to the department. To a journalist who had once written an article about whistleblowers. Lucas's name was in the subject line. The story broke 48 hours later. It wasn't loud at first, just precise. Headlines didn't scream, they exposed. Internal logs altered after child's death. Whistleblower reveals suppressed safety reports. Canine detection ignored amid administrative silence. The district denied everything. Then the files were verified. Public reaction shifted violently. Not grief now, anger. Resignations followed within days. First quietly, then publicly. The principal stepped down. 2 maintenance supervisors were placed on leave. A city safety officer resigned without comment. Turner was called in again. This time the tone was different. You leaked classified information, the council said flatly. I told the truth, Turner replied. The suspension was immediate, but the investigation reopened. This time, with external oversight, Shadow's transfer was halted. He was brought back. When Turner saw him again weeks later, Shadow barked once, sharp, relieved, then pressed his body against Turner with a force that almost knocked him over. Turner laughed through tears. You're not done, he whispered. Neither am I. The final hearing took place 3 months later. This one had cameras, experts testified, engineers, veterinarians, K9 trainers. One statement echoed through the room. The dog identified the hazard correctly. Another followed. The hazard was known, and then the one that silenced everything. The warning was ignored. The city issued a public apology. Not enough, but real. Lucas's mother stood at the podium one last time. I don't want silence anymore, she said. I want change. Shadow lay at Turner's feet, watching, listening, as he always had. Micro Gancho, film de parte 4. The decision would be final, not just about responsibility, but about what would be done differently next time. The ruling came on a quiet morning. No sirens, no crowds, no shouting. Just a statement released at 8:07 a.m., written in careful language that tried and failed to soften the truth. The city acknowledged negligence. The school district accepted responsibility for delayed action. New safety protocols were announced. Inspections, mandatory reporting, independent oversight, words, important ones, necessary ones, but they arrived too late for Lucas. Officer Michael Turner read the statement standing in his kitchen, coffee untouched, the light of early morning cutting through the blinds. Shadow lay nearby, stretched out on the floor, older now, calmer, but still watching. The case was officially closed. The consequences, however, were not. The principal never returned to education. 2 supervisors faced criminal charges for falsifying records. The district paid a settlement large enough to make headlines and small enough to avoid reform by itself. Turner's suspension was lifted, but his career did not return to what it had been. He was offered a desk position. He declined, not out of anger, out of clarity. Shadow was retired 6 months later, not quietly, not hidden. A small ceremony was held at the station. No press, no speeches written by committees, just officers, handlers, and a few people who understood what had really happened. Lucas's mother attended. She stood beside Turner as Shadow was honored for service beyond duty. "He didn't fail," she said softly. "He warned us." Shadow sat calmly as the medal was placed against his chest. His tail wagged once, slow and steady. Afterward, Lucas's mother knelt in front of him. "I wish we had listened sooner," she whispered. Shadow leaned forward gently, pressing his forehead against hers. No sound, no judgment, just presence. Turner and Shadow moved to a small house on the edge of town. No sirens, no radios crackling through the night, no crowds, just quiet mornings, long walks, and the kind of silence that heals instead of harms. Sometimes Turner would wake in the middle of the night, the weight of memory pressing down on his chest. He would replay the moment at the school gate, the leash in his hand, the hesitation in his voice. Shadow would rise quietly, resting his head against Turner's arm until the past loosened its grip. "You tried," Turner would whisper. "I should have listened." Shadow never responded. He didn't need to. A year later, a new policy was implemented statewide. Mandatory K-9 environmental assessments in public facilities after unexplained medical incidents. Shadow's case was cited. Lucas's name was mentioned. Change at last followed loss. Turner attended the first training session as a guest speaker. He stood in front of a room filled with young officers and handlers. He didn't tell them to be braver. He told them to be quieter, to listen, he said, especially when the warning doesn't sound like danger. He spoke about silence, how it hides mistakes, how it protects comfort, how it kills just as surely as action. And he spoke about Shadow, about the dog who smelled something no one else did, about the warning that was dismissed, about the cost of choosing calm over truth. Years passed. Shadow slowed. His steps grew careful. His muzzle grayed. His eyes remained sharp. On his last morning, Turner woke early. Shadow didn't rise. Turner knelt beside him, heart pounding, listening to the soft rhythm of breathing that had guided him through his darkest days. "You did everything right," Turner whispered. "I promise." Shadow's tail moved once, then stillness. Turner sat there for a long time, the house quiet around him, not the silence of neglect, the silence of completion. At Shadow's memorial, Turner placed the medal beside a framed photo of Lucas. 2 lives connected by a moment the world refused to hear. 2 truths learned too late, and 1 lesson left behind. That silence is never neutral. It chooses, and sometimes it chooses wrong. If this story stayed with you, it's because silence always does. Subscribe to Silent Hero Stories for powerful stories about loyalty, loss, and the moments we wish we had listened. And tell us in the comments, what warning do you think people ignore too often?